What do you want to do Friday?
Peace. Smash Plates with Go Hard Gambia. I have my cousin, and I just put him straight onto the live because we was here talking, and he has an amazing story. You know, me and him is the same age. I think you may be a year older than me.
Yeah, 49. I'll be 50 this year.
I'll be 40 next month.
Yeah.
However, I haven't seen you since, what was it, 88? Oh, it's
89.
89,
90, something like that.
Yeah, you know, I ain't seen you since then, but you know, those were some great times, man. You know, for us, and you know, where we were in our life. You know what I mean? And,
Most definitely.
And you know, circumstances was dealt to us where we come up in communities that are high crime communities, and many of us became victims to that in many ways, and you were one. And you've been 3 decades behind bars, and you know now, you know, you're home now, you know.
Yeah.
But that's a story, man. So you know, can you tell us? And you have a book that you put together that talks about your journey. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, I put out the book, The Model Inmate, because it dealt with my many different trials and tribulations of going in. One, I wanted to show the public that, you know, the perception of what incarceration is on TV is pretty much a fallacy, because everybody believes that what they see on TV is real. And I also wanted to show the general public that when one finds himself incarcerated, there is no light switch that you could turn on to change the criminal mindset overnight. So you have to deal with discipline, and you have to deal with the many stages of growth and development that come along with, you know, you aging out of that certain mindset. And my book, you know, delves into that with beginning with me becoming incarcerated and just the whole adjustment from society to prison. You know, coming into the county jail, what does that look like? The demasculation of a man when you telling a man to bend over, spread his behind cheeks, and so on and so forth, so that they could check you for you know, any foreign instrument that you may be trying to smuggle into the facility. And then it delves into, you know, the in the early 90s, how gang violence was at an all-time high. You know, how drugs was prevalent in the facility during this time. So, you know, many people fell victim to that. And it also, one of the key things that it deals with is how do you you win the battle of psychological warfare. And I tell people all the time that psychological warfare is the battle that doesn't involve any weapons at all. How does a man go to prison at the age of 19 and come home 3 decades later at 49 and still have all his mental faculties intact? You know, because I've won that battle against that psychological warfare that takes place within the prison. A lot of people look at the physical scars of someone being sexually assaulted or assaulted physically with a knife or a shank or something like that, but nobody looks at the individuals that fall victim to the mental battle wars that go on within the prison system in Connecticut. Wow.
I wanted to get you on. I know you've been home how long now?
I've been home since November 15th, 2021.
November 15th, 2021.
Yeah.
You know, so this is a few months. This is a few months now.
Yeah, just a few months.
And you break your time down in the number of days that you spend there. How many days did you spend there?
Yeah, 10,810 days.
10,810 days.
Yeah, to the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hoping everything coming clear here, and you know, we're the same age. We came up together. You know, you went in a long time ago, and spent a lot of time there. A lot of things happen out here on the street, but you know, of course, when you're in there, there's nothing that you can do. That's the whole world by itself, and you've seen many people coming in and going in there. It's like almost being on the street in a way, because half the people in the street, I saw you when I came through there back then. You made sure you take care. You came. I tell people all the time. I did a little bit a long time ago, but when I came through there, you came through. You with a care package. You like, cuz,
that's what it is.
So my cousin, anybody come through, my cousin take care of you. You know what I mean? He was able to move freely and things like that. And we're happy to have him back now, contributing to the community and just being present, because we don't have a lot of strong brothers out there. How have things changed since you've been home from when you?
Well, the one thing I've seen since I've made my exodus is that a lot of the city has changed, but many of the people haven't changed. And what I mean by that is, because they haven't been outside the box, they pretty much stagnant in their mental growth and development. So I've come home to see some individuals that I left when they were 19. They're still 19 mentally, but they're in their 50s physically. You know what I'm saying? They're still drinking, they're still drugging. And one of the things that, like, with me is like that people always come to me and talk about how much I changed. I think there was an opportunity for them to change as well, because when I came to prison, a lot of people don't know this, but when I came to prison, I was a 7th grade dropout. I was reading on the 3rd or 4th grade level when I came to prison. So self-edification was a means for me to be able to assure that, when I came home, that, I wasn't putting myself at risk to recidivate. I've done so many things in prison. That's why I was able to move throughout the prison system the way I moved, because I was always able to speak the language of the people that was in the prison. You know what I'm saying? No matter what officer it was, or what lieutenant it was, or what nurse it was, I was always, always to show them that water seeks its own level when it comes to the mental capacity, meaning that I was always, able to measure up to where they was at mentally. And, I went to school. I took different classes while I was in prison: culinary classes, commercial cleaning classes, writing classes, real estate classes. And when I had the 50 years and there was no telling when I would come home, all of these people used to ask me, the teachers used to ask me, the officers used to ask me, the inmates used to ask me, like, yo, why are you doing so much, like, with all of this time? Like, you're never going to be able to use what you have or what you've obtained, mentally. And I always told them that, listen, I'd rather be prepared and never get out than to get out and not be prepared. So I've been preparing myself for this day to come, since I got in there.
Wow.
And the concept pretty much blew their minds.
You have to have hope. You can't just, because you will decline in being able to, the mind, if you read a book and get into the book, it's like you're inside the book. And I had an opportunity to experience that and start reading when I did my first bid. And
my first book is crazy because I never read my first book in its entirety until I found myself incarcerated. A brother by the name of Hannibal Jomo, Leo Bathia, gave me my first book that I ever read in my life. You know what I'm saying? And I'm honored to that brother. And then that book was a book by, I was still in a criminal mindset. So I was fascinated by some of the things that, it was a book called Born for Dead, A Journey Through the Jamaican Underground Posses by Laurie Guntz. And I just wanted to see, because she was dealing with how Jamaican immigrants were able to come to the United States under a political stance, and the JLP or the PMP, which are political parties in Jamaica, whoever won office, under those different political parties, a lot of times the gangsters in the community, the government would give them passports to come to the United States, because they knew that the drug trade in the United States was very lucrative, and a lot of these dudes would seize that opportunity and bring marijuana over here and things of that nature. So she wrote a book about that, and I wanted to read it. And the brother was telling me, like, he let somebody else read it. And one day I went to the gym. He was like, I was like, yo, I want to read that book. He was like, yo, ask him, man, he'll let you read it. So he let me read it. He's like, man, I want my book back the next week. And I was like, man, I'm doubting myself because again, I haven't read a whole book in my life. So when I told him, I said, all right, I'll have it the next week. I went back that day, must have read like 100 pages that night, you know, because in prison there's really nothing to do. So in 3 days, I bought the brother back his book, and he handed me another book. And I was like, why you giving me this? He said, I knew you would be finished before. And then the crazy thing is, I read a book by, years later, I would read a book by Marcus Garvey called Message to the People by Tony Martin. And in it, Marcus Garvey said, if you read one book a week, that's 52 books in a year. In 5 years, you read 260 books as opposed to the man who hasn't read one in that time. Because, you know, a lot of big brothers in prison that are functionally illiterate. So they don't want to show anybody that they can't read. You know what I'm saying? So I overcame that fear. And what I did, I challenged myself to read a book a week. And how I did that is if the book had 350 pages, I broke that down, divided it, whatever the book pages was, I divided it by 7. So I made sure that if I had to read 50 pages a day, if I had to read 40 pages a day, I got it in because at the end of the week, I knew I had a deadline to be finished with the book.
We're trying to figure something
out.
Yeah.
And what that did is it not only like I began to learn and experience new things, it opened my mind's eye up to a whole new world. You know,
we don't want to put Nick up there, but if he's cool with that, you put him there. You with somebody that's spent 2 decades in there as well. That's brother Nick, real estate. What's up, Nick?
He want to interview. He want to interview.
I just want to
give him a minute. He on the phone. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
yeah. He'll get in and give you a little shout out. You know.
Well, speaking, I tell people, New Haven, Connecticut was like one of the 4th most dangerous cities to live in, for a while, and I'm pretty sure we still up amongst the top 10.
True indeed.
I'd rather give it to Ryan.
And when we were kids, it was like a war zone out there. You somebody that did really well out there. You had a lot of connections with Jamaicans.
Yeah.
You mostly deal with that.
Yeah.
And so I see how the book will come around because during that time, a lot of these areas where we were living, we were $1 million and $2 million would come through. So that's the type of money that we came up around.
I mean,
go ahead.
Today a lot has changed. I mean, a lot of the violence is predicated upon nothing or BS. And not to justify what we were doing at what time, but we were protecting $1 million blocks. You know what I'm saying? And at such a young age, at the height of my existence in this game, I know I was moving 2.5 to 3 kilos a day in weight. So it's a lot of people. I said at the height of my game, what I was doing before my incarceration, I was moving 2 to 2.5 kilos of cocaine a day. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it got to the point where I didn't want to bag anything up anymore and put nickels and dimes out on the block because it was more lucrative for me to just, take the points off a kilo. You know what I'm saying? And my connects were, I had connects, like you said, I had a lot of Jamaican connects. And my keys was coming directly from Panama during this time. A lot of people didn't know it. But I mean, I was entrusted by them to you know what I'm saying, enter a lucrative market that in my neighborhood, a lot of dudes people thought was getting money, was getting a lot of cocaine on consignment from me. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't really have money, but they had the things that made it look like they were acquiring so much money. But at the end of the day, I was laying in the cut and capitalizing off of that.
At least tonight we got to go over some of those things.
We have so many brilliant minds in our community in terms of our business. And unfortunately, the first thing that gets in our community is, drugs. And, through the media, they promoted that, Scarface, Needle Brown and New Jack City, they promoted this type of gangster, this type of lifestyle. And, many of us fell victim to it. And as we a part of the lifestyle.
No,
That's
but
where
pretty good.
the violence and stuff comes from guns.
Yeah.
You know, I think I had my first gun about 12, 13 years old. That's when we started dealing with. When you had to get your first gun?
About 12. I remember my first gun. I bought it 12 for two dimes. I mean, 8 dimes of cocaine. I bought my first gun at 12. And it's crazy because I remember one day I bought it out maybe like 1 o'clock in the morning and shot it off the back porch right above my mother's bed. So when it popped, the first thing she did was jump and look out the window like, what's going on out there? I was scared, so I made it look like I was playing with firecrackers in the backyard. Because be like, boy, what you doing with a gun?
Yeah.
But that just led to once you let off that first round, boy, I'm telling you, it's like you get high off that gun smoke. You want another gun or you want a bigger gun. You know what I'm saying? Because now you feel as though you can control something. It's crazy because I remember one time your father told me he seen me with a gun one time. He was like, "What you doing with that?" Right? And your father history on the force. He told me, I said, I got it for protection. He said, he looked at me, he said, guns are made to kill people, right? And I never even thought of that because when we think about guns, let's be real, we only think about injuring somebody or backing somebody up off of us. We never really go into the thought of risk assessing that, this gun is really literally going to take somebody's life,
Anybody, my father, he's speaking to my father. My father worked in the New Haven Police Department until he retired. And this was during the time most of the boys in the family, people don't know this about me, but I was on a video and I was saying that my aunt had 9 children, 6 boys, 3 girls. And many of the boys got shot. HB got shot. You remember?
Yeah, Ma got shot. Dier got shot. George got shot.
Yep, I got shot.
Mark you got shot. Yeah, Mark got shot. Yeah.
Most of the boys got shot in our family. I think you and Joe and Bertie, the only one that didn't get shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you was incarcerated, and then you have the other side where, like your circumstances, you were in jail for taking murder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You stayed there long. Most people that had those type of charges didn't do as much time. But of course, if you go to trial and things like that, it was something like that, But how, during that time when everything happened, of course, you don't go out and intend to do things like that. But we've seen violence so much on TV and violence so much in our environment. A gun is almost like a BB gun, almost to us.
Yeah.
At one time it was to that, and it's crazy. Like these kids, like even now today, it's like we have no respect for life. It's like shooting a paper target.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And because I'm at the workplace right now.
You pull it up. Okay. Listen,
we gotta do a part 2 to this. Definitely, definitely.
This is my cousin. I haven't seen him in 30 years. I'm gonna see him soon. He's home.
Nice meeting you, brother.
Nick been here for us. We're gonna talk and chop it up some more, man.
Definitely.
Keep up the good work, cuz I look forward to linking with you. All right.
Definitely. Peace. Peace. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.
All right. Peace.